Dear friends, so we come to the final part of our symposium today, the very important round table with all of the speakers from this morning and ready to receive your questions, your comments, open up discussion. And the moderators for the round table are Eugenijus, Laurinaitis, Roman Kechur. Kechur, thank you. And also Jirka Drohota. So I will hand over to you to conduct the round table.
Okay, dear friends, I don't see the speakers on the screen. I suppose that during our conversation, there were some mixed ideas about our work, our experience, and I think maybe we can share what we as listeners got from other speakers' colleagues.
Judith Tesseri raised hand, please.
Okay.
Oh, we are not allowed to use the microphone. Now, thank you. Okay.
No, we are allowed.
Oh, it is. Okay. So I am very impressed by this collective knowledge you presented in this situation, and because you are really in a forefront of to understand how it is possible to work in the middle of a wartime. You know, it's very unique that you have it, you work it while the crisis is going on. Because this is very special to be creative and to find the adequate way to work, because it's not a post-traumatic treatment, so to speak, after war situation. And I'm really impressed that while it's going on, you are researching, you are working, and I'm doing that too with 2 groups online, Ukrainian group. And I was also very impressed by Irena's experience. Of course, you've been through this, and you have ideas and methods you developed, and I think it could be transformed. It's also good to have this exchange, to learn from you who know how, so to speak. And the playfulness of the children, and in the little group I said the playfulness of the adults to bring back it. I am a psychodramatist, so we usually play. So, and also I was very impressed by the knowledge about how the difference or the difficulties of young people who had previously difficult times, or I don't want to diagnose, you see, but who has additionally the war, how they get impressed by the war. I think the special vulnerable group is so important to work with. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this. I wrote down my contact information. That's my phone number. So please, if you happen to have any questions, please contact me and I will refer you to the place where you will receive your help best in the country where you are right now, or in the region you are right now. That's what I can help you right now to do. Well, I don't know what else I can add to this. However, if I may, I will switch to another computer so that I will switch off my computer for a second to switch the computers at all. By now, I thank you all for welcoming words from Czech Republic. That was extremely pleasant for me to hear those words. And precisely, just it will take me just 1 minute to switch the laptops, and I will be back with you in a minute.
Maybe I have one question. Vera.
Yes.
Vera. So my question was, you are seen by our Ukrainian colleagues as a big teacher in the child psychotherapy. And your presentation was excellent, absolutely. But can you tell us if you learned something from Ukrainian colleagues in these years of war, from their experience?
Of course, a lot.
So can you tell us a little bit how you have been enriched?
Well, I think what is very impressioning me is that you work very well together, and have and really take all kinds of possibilities to help the kids and to work with them. In detail, I could not understand because I could not understand Ukrainian, and it was not translated for me in English. So it's really sorry. I'm really very, very sorry, but I cannot help. But I think it is very impressioning that you work with the kids during the war and not after the war. And this is very important. This is very, very important. And we have to protect the kids, especially the kids, of course, everybody, but especially the kids, because the kids make genes out of all that, what they learn, what they have to cope with. You know, there's always made genes, and it's very difficult. Of course, we can learn genes. I don't know, we can extend them, the genes, but it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of time to build up new genes. This takes another 3 years, so it is very, very difficult. So I think it's wonderful that you are such a very special community, that you help together, and you do a very good job to protect the kids and to help them to overcome. This is what I really impresses me very much, because this is important. We have to do that, and even the mothers who are pregnant needs a special shelter, a special Schutz, special shelter that because the most danger is for the kids during the Schwangerschaft, during the time they are in mother's lap, and when they are not yet born. This is the most the time they get the most the most I don't know this word very well, but they lose them.
Protection?
They need the most protection, otherwise they get very much damaged. Damaged, I wanted to say. Because the genes already, the basic genes get damaged already. And so as it is with children. And I am very angry, I must say, that this war cannot be stopped. This is something what is really horrible, but I don't know what one can do. And maybe there should be a delegation of people who look after children and make some special political intervention to stop this war because of the kids in this country. But there are all kinds of interests, but it's the kids are never enough sheltered. Also, when there's no war, they are also not sheltered enough. And
and the children carry the most of all these happenings, of all that what happens now. These are the kids who have to go through it and have to overcome. Okay,
Thank you very much, Vera. In our group, we produced the question. I think it's for everybody indeed, but maybe Irena has the best experience. What kind of adult generation will grow from those kids of war? And you have 30 years of experience of these kids. Now they are all adults, mature persons. What kind of persons they will be?
It is a very general question, of course. It is, impossible to answer, because for the certain person it would not suit. But I can tell you that I had yesterday a client first time, and so she is now 38 and was a child, and we spoke in the first session about the war and about how it was that she had some speaking problems, and then coming into the new class, and the class was full of refugees and her family from the Bosnia and so on, and she could not recover from, at that time, it was not possible to cope with the speech problem and with this displacement and the war-related topics. And that was now, after 30 years, it was a topic in the therapy. So, we have a great generation of adults now. My children are also adults now, and they were kids at that time, and they are coping well. So I think the great majority of these kids are coping well, and are having a good life, and having, let's say, the normal life as it could be in the countries like ours. Because we have war, then you have a post-war problems and so on. But now the adult generation are those who were really kids. Of course, you have those who have problems because of the trauma at that time. I don't know, they are displaced all around the world. And I heard for some who are now living in America, Australia, Sweden, wherever, that they studied, that they are integrated in their countries and are living their life. So war was a part of their life. And I really hope that the children of Ukraine will grow up in adults who will manage their lives. But for managing their life, they have to have a time of peace. If they will be in a war now and the next 10, 20 years, then they will be the war people. They will be the people who know how to live in the war. So the peace is very important, as Vera said. So the peace should come at some point, and then it will be long time to recover. There will be for sure 10 years after the war in which the whole society will slowly recover. So, but they are not to underestimate these human possibilities of self-recovery, of resilience. The children are very resilient most of the time. So I do believe that there will be, you'll have a healthy Ukraine at some point, hopefully. And the people who are very traumatized, being children or being ex-soldiers, or so the veterans of the war, they will have their problems, as all very traumatized people have. and needing therapy for a longer time to develop social skills, to develop the capacity for intimate relationships, to fight against PTSD symptoms, and so on.
I think that maybe our Ukrainian colleagues have their own thoughts on that topic.
So if you do not mind, I will tell a couple of words if nobody wants to. Okay, you know, it seems to me that when we have so very much optimistic view, we take into account that soon the war will be over and soon the recovery will start. And we have our hopes that the war will not spread any further, will not be covering any other regions, any other children. So that's this ground cornerstone we are standing on. But we are not always sure about that, and we do not know how our future will look like. And this uncertainty is another element of a trauma that we have. It seems to me that we are kind of localizing the worries that are going on in Ukraine as if they are kind of localized and do not go outside of Ukrainian border. But the whole Europe is been living and in front of this kind of fear maybe of spreading of this war. In other words, it seems to me that during our discussion, we are talking as if there are Ukrainians, there is a history of Ukraine is going through, and the rest are some kind of showing sympathy, but they are outside of this story. But it seems to me that's not a fact right now. We have no idea whether we are in a situation of a future robust end of the war, or we are just in a period of some kind of even more horrible event. We have no idea about that. It seems to me that we are trying not to realize it. We're trying to formulate our narratives that yes, there were wars, they ended up, and or maybe they did not touch us at all. So say the war in Croatia did not touch Ukrainian people, but in Croatia it lasted. It happened 2 times, and it happened during almost 10 years. In other words, it was a long war. And other wars basically were spreading around the world. In other words, we have perhaps to simply understand that we have stand on the position that we do not know anything about how the turn of events will be in the future. And also questions about how it's going to be look like in 10 years. There is nobody to ask these questions to.
Natalia, we are discussing, Halyna, we are discussing how we see what kind of generation will grow from these kids of war. Do you have your own ideas on that? And Kataryna, I would like to ask you as well.
Я перепрошую, в нас є 2 перекладачі на українську мову, одночасно перекладаєте. Вам треба розібратися, хто перекладає на українську. Добре,
I can ask in Russian if you wish, but I see you don't like that. So please translate into Ukrainian. So to Halyna and Kataryna, what you see the generation will grow from these kids of war?
Let me start. Thanks a lot for this question and for giving me the floor. You know, what kind of generation will we have out of these children? We will see it in several years after the end of the war. One simple reason that we are now all in this association, we are now just doing our best. The hormones of stress are somehow too high, but this still enables us to function. But the moment there will be a transition to the peacetime, only then we'll see the consequences of what is happening in the society. Not only in Ukraine, I mean, because in Europe there are children who have also experienced a lot, and these are the children who left Ukraine one day. So it's not only our society, our psychotherapists and psychologists will face the consequences of the war, but also the countries where we have our migrants. And that is the first thing I would like to mention. We should be getting ready for that. All of us should be getting ready for that. Because there is some statistics related to World War II, and I can clearly tell you what the statistics is, not in relation to children, that's the statistics I have read. So after World War II, the maximum mind-body medicine response was related more to the number of suicides. The peak was at the 7th year after the end of the war in terms of suicides. This is statistics for adults, but I don't know what will happen after this war. We don't know how long the hostilities will go on, and the response will also probably have its own periods in time. And suppose these are long-lasting events, the response will come probably later. If they are shorter, the response will come sooner. Let me also mention one more thing. These children will be adults at the time. They will be creating their own families and giving birth to their children. So that will be transgenerational trauma. Before this war, I used to work with one lady who was born by the parents who were deported from Poland after World War II within the Vistula operation. And I saw her response to the experience of her parents who in their childhood were deported from Poland, and they experienced then the war. So we reached that only after a year and a half of our therapy through the analysis of her dreams. It was in her dreams that the experience and the emotions of her parents came to her. And she was actually 40 years old then. So we can now be talking about what we see in the short run, but also we should focus on what our next generation of psychotherapists will face. That's the matter of time, I guess. The only thing I can mention is that now war is more awful, more terrible in terms of time and space. As to the intensity of those strikes, of missile strikes, and of the shelling and bombardments is concerned, we didn't have this in World War II. Just one missile can bring as much damages as several attacks in World War II. It was only Mariupol that experienced 8 Hiroshimas. And you can generally understand what all our country is experiencing has been experiencing through those 2 years. That's what I think.
Kataryna, did you have any ideas from your research on these teenagers? What will it have as consequences in their adulthood?
So, good afternoon once again. Well, I actually would rather agree with Halyna and Roman. We don't know as yet what we are going to face in the nearest future, and we don't know when this war is over. During the war and after the war, we will have to work with those children and with the consequences of those traumatizing events they have to deal with. So far, my work consists in making the diagnostics of the symptoms of PTSD, anxiety, and depression, particularly in children who have been affected by the war. That's why so far we are trying to make this diagnostic panel, and then we could further at least understand what we are going to face in the future. And that's true that we don't know what kind of children we are going to have in the future, what kind of adults they're going to be, in spite of the fact that we are doing our best in helping them. That's what we can do. We are really trying our best.
I think that we have a kind of historical experience of very traumatizing events in different countries in Eastern Europe. And for example, in Ukraine, Holodomor of 30s was terrible tragedy for a nation, and it was not talked openly about for 60 more years. And I'm thinking if this generation of post-war children will be not a silent generation who will not want to talk about their traumas.
Well, it seems to me that it depends on what the end of the war is going to be like. And we don't know this. We don't know the ending, and that's why we cannot make any forecast. Since if we lose, well, we will have dark times in the future. There will be genocide all over the country. We are fully aware of that from our experience. In our history, that happened not once. And we saw what happened in Bucha, what happened in other towns and cities, and we can see what is happening on a daily basis. It seems to me that this silence in the audience is also something illustrative. It's kind of a symptom. We cannot speak at the moment. People do not ask questions. That's difficult.
Okay, there are questions. Hands are raised. Martinas, be so kind. Turn on Konstantin Lisovy.
Well, I would rather disagree with Roman in a way, because regardless of whether we are going to lose or to win in the war, and we Ukrainians really do hope that we will win the war, then our children will definitely keep silent about that, because they feel scared now, and they will either be ashamed in the future, or they will feel confused. They will have some other emotions and feelings because of the fact that as children they were experiencing such awful things, which children are not supposed, not only children, even adults are not supposed to see ever in their lives. So I think that our children and grandchildren, the ones who are now very little kids and who are experiencing this war, which has been lasting for already 10 years, there has been no war like this in Europe. So these children and grandchildren will keep silent about this experience for a very long period of time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Konstantin. Martinas, turn on, please, Lyubov Taranenko.
Good afternoon to everyone. I would like to tell the story of my grandson. It was the beginning of the war. He did not tell me either about any explosions or about the places he was hiding in, but he has a cat, and he tells me, "Grandma, I take my cat and we go to the bathroom. I stay with him there. I hide him and cover him under the pillow. That's the one thing that he told me over the first months of the war. And later, I asked the mother of the son whether he's sharing any information with her. He doesn't do it. They went to the hairdressers, but when he started having his hair done there, he met, well, he said, you know, war is going on. Do you know? I just take my cat and I go to the bathroom and hide myself and my cat there. So our children know where to hide. And you know, we are now talking about children, but our children go, after we work with them, to their parents, and we even don't know whose trauma is more serious. Children don't tell their parents, they don't tell everything to us. We can just see them, and we can just see the expression, the look in their eyes. So it would be great if the people who do this evil looked into those real, authentic eyes of a child at least once. The eyes of the child who cannot tell anything to anyone. This is really something great. These are the eyes hiding the truth, hiding the tears, and we don't know for how long they're going to process this trauma. So the fact that you're doing this for the children, it's great. Well, I'm also a child. I'm also afraid and scared. And if there is an explosion somewhere, I feel that I'm just a cell. And I just want to hide behind my mom, saying, please, mom, keep me safe, hide me somewhere in a safe place. The universe, please hide me somewhere, give me a place to hide. That's really, really something that we now have in Ukraine. And it would be so really great if every person in the world really felt with his or her body the sufferings each of our children, even those who are yet unborn, feel. Because even the child in the mother's womb still hears the explosions around. This is really important. And this should be felt by all of us, not just psychologists. And I'm so grateful to all the people who have joined. We have all in all but 500 people here. But still, this is too little, because not only psychologists are supposed to work, psychotherapists have to work, other people, social workers should be engaged in the process. They should be given some methodological recommendations how to work with children. Yesterday I went to social services and I had a talk with them on that point, and we need to work with grandmothers and mothers, because, you know, mother is one thing, but children normally approach grandmothers because they give some sweets to them or something like this. So probably we should
Lubov,
also
I am
work
very
with
sorry, but we
like
have
this.
more questions. I am very sorry. We have more people wanting to ask questions. Thank you very much. Martinez, turn on, please, Lucy Mishkosi.
Hello. I thank you for your great conference. Hi from the Czech Republic. I wanted to ask, I would like to help these Ukrainian children or mothers who live here in the Czech Republic, and I don't know how to start. What's the best way to work with these children or mothers? I provide support groups for mothers, normal, or I don't know how to say it, Czech mothers, support group, therapeutical group, and I don't know how to find those people from Ukraine who need this. I can do it pro bono, and I don't know how.
Jirka, maybe you can answer.
Yeah. Lucia, I already contact for you, and I will contact you. And we will surely find a work for you.
Wonderful. New initiatives. Okay. Judith Tessari was raising her hand, but where she? Okay, Judith, please.
I have to be unmute. Okay, I just thought that other needs to talk too. So it's both a question and a reflection is that if it's a collective trauma, maybe even the children experiencing differently and as if it was a family or a personal trauma. And as Irena said, that children has an extraordinary capability to
cope.
To cope, yes, and also the support system and that the sharing to talk about it in a society, so the trauma is not frozen in, because then it's very difficult to open up, as the Holocaust trauma in Hungary, let us say, is still very closed. Compared to Germany, they opened a little bit more. And so I think talk about and building networks and make it to the collective wound, then it's easier even for children, because then the adults are more reliable and accountable, so to speak, and reachable. So we cannot wait for the children that they are talking. We have to talk, and then they will talk if we talk in their language or the way they understand. So it can be a common discourse, and that's what I wanted to reflect on.
Thank you, Judith. Yuri Sidorik. Yuri Sidorik, please, your question.
It's rather not a question, but a comment. I think that during its development, mankind has experienced a lot of individual and collective traumas. And before the war broke out, I used to think that such a thing may never happen, such a thing as we are now having. But it so happened that it may happen, such things may happen, but this may also mean that some things like that may also happen once again in the future, sooner or later. And definitely adults are different from children. Children probably respond more to the fear they see in the adults and to the interpretation adults provide for the situation. So working through adults could also be helpful for children, for adults not to be that much afraid. And this trauma can lead to several options, like to unity against the common threat. I think that what is now happening, what we are now talking about, is also a kind of a way to unite us and to process this trauma. Because if we have a network like this, we have mutual support, we have reinforcement, we have better coping mechanisms. So I think that this will also be important for children to realize that they need to respond, because life is not always easy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yuri. Larisa Ditkovska.
Good afternoon. Thank you, colleagues. I just wanted to say that in 2022 in Lviv, we had a Congress of European on identity. And I still remember the speech by German and Austrian psychotherapists who said that two post-war generations were brought up in paranoia. Why? Because after the return of German soldiers, of fascists, of the armed forces who were somehow saved back home, they kept silent and they had their experience as a taboo because they were ashamed of this experience and they considered it to be their guilt, their fault. And that's why their children, in their imagination, were also picturing awful things their relatives allegedly had been doing. And they invented some stories like that their father or uncle or grandfather was definitely a director of the concentration camp who was making abuse of the prisoners of war. They also added some elements, tragic elements, because they thought that if adults were keeping silent, they were hiding some secrets that could not be shared with anyone. And that was a message of the people showing that you need to talk to children. You need to tell a part of the truth that would be clear for them in plain language and that would be safe for them. And then this paranoia will not come. The children will not be adding any tragic elements to the stories. Yes, we need to talk to children, but in the way that will enable them to contact reality and in the way that will enable them to rely on their parents who should not be afraid of sharing their secrets. That was in 2022 at the Congress in Lviv. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you very much, Larissa. Yulia Rusova. Turn on your mic. Microphone.
Yeah, it goes without any doubt that each human being needs some help, those who suffered, those to children, and to all of us, and the support as well as the counseling. And the question occurs, like, how can we manage to do that? And you are the ones giving this support to us, and you're doing great things by doing this. Thank you for this very broadcast. I'm on my development path right now. I am thankful to you for information I received. I have a question. In the informational space after this symposium, will that be possible to see the algorithms of work, any kind of tips and tricks, techniques, or instruments, or games? And because for us, that's very important, because you are the very experienced people. What we have heard today is a great input of your side into Ukrainian development, to help Ukrainian children. And I will be grateful if you happen to provide us with this kind of tips and tricks and have a good and peaceful day. Thank you.
Halyna, Kataryna, Roman, answer.
Well, we have what is called Videotech on our website of Ukrainian psychotherapies, where a huge amount of video materials are being assembled, and there is lots of other references to other literature. So you already can now start basically familiarizing yourself with it, not only in conjunction with the symposium. After the symposium, we will add more materials and more videos, basically the way we do after each of the symposium. But in addition to that, and Halyna will provide her proposals. And jumping on this opportunity in order not to get up twice and not to take the floor 2 times, I just want to say the following. What Larissa Ditkovska had just mentioned. This very symposium, it seems to me, that happened in 2003 in Lviv, it had to do with the topic of identity. I think that there is a reason why she recalled this very symposium. Because right now we are talking about how the children will change in the future, what kind of people this will be in the future. We have no precise idea how, but inside their identity, there will be this trauma inside. Because the trauma of war remains, leaves its traces, and our identity is just the mix of traumas we went through individually, and we as a community we belong to. Approximately 2,000 years ago, one man was basically baptized on a cross in Jerusalem. And this is a trauma, and within generations, within some kind of ritual, within cultures, it is still present in our culture. The familiar traumas through these symbols and rituals in the best case scenario, when a society can basically perceive all this. This is a part of our identity. But also there are other traumas that cannot be verbalized, traumas that cannot be built or transferred into a narrative. They are the ones depicted in our character, in our actions, and our children, who we and our grandchildren will be exactly the people who went through the war, despite of those children who had much more luck, who did not have to go through this war at all. So I'm sorry that it might took too long for me. Halyna, maybe you can add something to this? Well, I don't even know what I can put into this. I would like to come back to that boy I showed at the end of my presentation. His name is Roman. I'm thankful that you mentioned what I wanted to say by this picture. To what extent our children are already traumatized, and they all are wearing masks. What the rest didn't see is the depths and fear of traumatization and wounds that they already have. And one will have to, and adults will have to do a lot of things, put many efforts into helping them to overcome that pain, so that the new generation, this very pain not to be transferred to another generation. We have to clearly understand we are the ones responsible for the next generation, while healing our children. And the way how we do it together, this will be the responsibility of us. But first, the war has to end. Right now, we are doing what we can do here and now, to the extent possible, while supporting each other. And indeed, we are, well, it seems to me, I have this feeling that right now we are very cohesive as a society of psychotherapy. We are supporting each other because one cannot be able to heal everyone, and one cannot be healed. And that's our group responsibility for our children. I would like to thank you all. And I would like to thank this symposium precisely because this is a very general unity that we have here. And we still, due to this symposium, understand that there is still some path ahead and we have people who we can ask for help to. And I would like to thank you all for this.
I just want to add one short remark. I think that here sometimes were exaggerated meanings of techniques. Teach us techniques, please. And then everybody will do everything. It is not about psychotherapy. We all have our limitations, and we all have to see whom I can work with and where is my boundary. Don't do what doesn't go well from your side. So some mirror is always necessary when we work. But Olena Pavlik, the last question of our symposium, I think it's very important. Olena, please.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. I would like also to greet and thank for this symposium. It's been my fourth symposium I'm participating in. And indeed, all these years of war we are having right now, this very symposium is a huge amount of help and support to us when we understand that the world is closer to you. People there understand you and they support you. So I would like to thank you all, those of you who is working in Ukraine, outside Ukraine, as well as to our colleagues from other countries. And I'd like to put in a little remark that after the Second World War, when the veterans were coming back to Germany, and when their grandchildren were basically fantasizing a little bit about this regard, I recalled my grandfather, who also came back after the Second World War home, and he had a huge amount of medals and awards. So we have been assembling them in a box on a shelf, and the grandsons were mostly the ones interested in this, not the granddaughters. But the grandfather did not say much about this box and those medals. I remember there was Medal of Honor, very old one, and my grandfather received it during war times, and he was so much cherishing this very medal. But he did not tell us anything about those times. He didn't tell us literally anything. He did not consider this as something needed to tell us, and never he has ever weared on his jacket those medals. So he was trying not to forget it, but at the same time, he thought that we do not need to know this at all. Even though I am a human being from Soviet school, when we had veterans attending school who with a great pleasure would tell us about those wartime stories. And here is some kind of misunderstanding about how did my grandfather, I know that he was struggling, fighting heroically, he received 2 combat wounds, and he ended up the war in Vienna. And those veterans who were telling a lot, and I have this kind of untrust to those who's been telling us a lot of things, because there is so much unreasonable experience for them. So there is this kind of thing that those veterans who've seen war indeed with their bare eyes, they will not be telling all the truth about it. So that's the remarks I had. Thank you all for your support. Ukraine will be the one winning. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Olena. And now, last words, Patricia, for you.
Well, thank you, dear colleagues, for this rich round table, and particularly thank you, Roman, because it was when you said how everyone had been silenced because it's so hard for us all to know what to say, that suddenly people found what they wanted to say. So thank you for your intervention. And thank you also to Elena, who just spoke, saying that she had been in all 4 symposiums and has received such huge support from the 4 symposiums. This is wonderful to hear, and it's wonderful that so many people join our symposiums, and it's wonderful to hear that they are giving support, because that is our hope, that between us, that we build something which brings support. And so much of today has been about how, when working together, we enable each other. If it's individual work with children or group work with children or our ongoing work or something like this symposium, when we stand together, then we have a strength and a hope that keeps everything alive and is truly the counterpoint to the evil which is happening to Ukraine. So this excellent teamwork is so good. I have a few thank yous and then a few final words. So my first thank you is to all of the participants who have joined us and shared so richly with us, and your listening and your speaking, your sharing in the groups, your sharing in the round table. It's all such an important part of this symposium. To our speakers who have given of their expertise and their heart and their soul and their experience so generously and richly today, and have given everything for free, which means that we can offer this symposium to you for free, so it can be available to everyone. So thank you for all our speakers. Thank you again to our translators who have worked hard throughout the day. Thank you, Martinez, for everything that you do to make this symposium happen, the magic that you are working in the background that means that we can all connect with each other and form groups and come back together. So thank you for everything that you make possible. These symposiums just wouldn't happen without your work. Thank you. The roundtable presenters, and finally to our patron, Senator Fisher, to thank him for his patronage of this symposium. And I'm just going to change his words a little bit to close the symposium. So this is a little modification of what Senator Fisher said. We will remember the children of Ukraine. We will remember the children taken away from their families. We will remember the children who are suffering psychological trauma, physical trauma, emotional trauma. We will remember the children whose lives have been forcibly changed. We will remember the children taken from their homes and stolen from their loved ones. We will remember the courage and the bravery and the hope that we see in the lives of our children. We will not remain silent. We will work to help the children of war. So with those words, I close this symposium, and my message, final message is that our 5th symposium will be on Friday, June the 14th, and please watch our website for details of that day and the theme that we will choose. So Friday, June the 14th, we look forward to seeing you again on that day. With a warm bye-bye and with love to everyone. Bye-bye.